Sorry.
Why don't we do one time through just instrumental?
Awesome. Way to go, guys. For you. Get you singing on this Father's Day. Hey, if you didn't hear me before, happy Father's Day to you all. There's a new Father Day. Happy Grandfather's Day. And by the way, if you're none of those, then I bet you had a father.
Happy Father's Day to you, Sean.
Well, thank you so much, Jan. That is sweet of you. And I'm a grandpa too. We're going to sing something back.
Very proud of that.
I'm very proud of being a grandpa. That's right. We can set some nice intention here with a bit of sacred love. You are sacred love, sacred love, it's all that you are. You are sacred. to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. Want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are deepest joy, deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Show the way, God, show the ways. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the ways. I want to live in such a holy place. Show the way, God, show the ways. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the ways. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love, sacred love. It's all that you are. You are sacred love, sacred love. It's all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. Terrific, you guys. Thanks for singing.
Good morning, everyone. That is absolutely my favorite song. I don't get to live in a sacred place, but I am here in this holy place, and I really enjoy that. So welcome to everyone here, as well as those who are joining us online to Unity Spiritual Center, where our mission is transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference. My name is Karen Dunmore, and I am your platform assistant this morning. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones, and before you do, check in and tell the world you are here, and let them know that they can tune into Unity Spiritual Center online. I want to begin our time together by sharing our opening affirmation. I will say it once, then ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. We want to begin our time together by sharing our opening affirmation. I will say it once.
But we can do it again.
I did this before. I love this affirmation. Anyway. There might be more. This is Unity's foundation principle. One presence, one power, one life, living through and as each one of us. This morning we will hear from Amber McKenzie, who will be sharing the Sunday message entitled Your Soul's Mission, if you choose to accept it. And Julian Romanoff will be leading the meditation today. We are being blessed musically this morning by Sean and Tawny as we stand and sing our community song.
All right, everybody, if you can stand, that'd be great. If not, it's okay too.
I'm not using
Relax. Sing a little bit of Jan Gary here for you this morning, and the words are not a nod. Remember that?
They're not on the screen, but I think you can figure them out.
I'll sing it one time for him here. Na 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 na. That's your part. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Great. Na 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 na. We do our best to be mortal and leave a legacy behind. Nobody cares about how we've struggled to be a legend in our own mind. Everybody wants to be a hero. We try to stake our claim to fame, but what we take adds up to zero. It's what we give that wins the game. And so we find our center and we get a little bit better and we learn to trust our heart and soul. And now I finally get it. I don't need that credit, 'cause if my heart is worth its weight in gold, I'm gonna get it all the way before I go. Na 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 na. You got the right idea. Na 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 na. Oh, that's so good. Let's do it again. Na 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 na. Right. Na 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 na. Well, we offer up a random acts of kindness. Well, nobody ever needs to know. The ones we help may never find us. We keep in touch by letting go. And so we find our center and we get a little bit better and we learn to trust our heart and soul. And now I finally get it. I don't need the credit, 'cause if my heart is worth its weight in gold, that's the truth. I'm gonna get it all the way before I go. Well, I can't change the world. I'm trying to hold on. A gift that's freely given lives on and on. And so we find our center and we get a little bit better and we learn to trust our heart and soul. And now I finally get it. I don't need no credit, 'cause if my heart is worth its weight in gold, I'm gonna get it all way before. Let's all sing. Na 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 na. That's it right there. Na 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 na. We're gonna go for some high notes. Ready? Na 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 na. Na 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 na. We're gonna go higher. We're gonna go higher. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Yeah. Great job.
Good morning. Wow, the place is full. This is great. The ministers go away and the mice will play. Hey. Okay. In case anybody didn't notice, the name tags are out in the hallway. If you don't have one on the board, write your name on the slip on the table, and we'll get you one by next Sunday. And they're by first name. So if you're looking for your last name in the alphabet, look on the other side for a first name. Anyway, just a reminder that the church is a fragrance-free area. So we want to remind people that there are people here that can't stay in the sanctuary if there's a lot of fragrance, so we hope you will keep the perfume at home. Next Sunday, no, it's not next. Oh, next Sunday, David McClure will be here speaking. And Donna will be doing the meditation. So everybody needs to show up for that one. And an ice cream social afterwards. So everybody needs to be here next Sunday. And then the following Sunday, we're having a hot dog themed potluck for the 5th Sunday of the month. So I think I hit, I got this new little brochure from Unity Village. It's called Compassion, Living Life with an Open Heart. And they're available to anybody who wants one. There's some down on the information desk and there's some in the bookstore. So anybody who wants one, you're free to come and just take one home with you. Okay, and now I'm going to introduce Jim.
Yeah, I know it's a little early for the offering, so. I'd like to ask all past and present baristas to please join me on the stage, if you would. So about 14 years ago, Wayne Green approached me and said, what do you think about doing a coffee cart? And I said, well, I do know somebody who knows a thing or two about coffee, and let me ask him. And so I approached my son-in-law, Tom Hammer, and he said, yeah, I think we can probably make that work for you. So then Wayne and I went to the board and told them what we were going to do, and there were a few kind of puzzled looks, a barista cart inside the church. Okay, whatever. And so we got their approval, and Tom came and did a training for us, and we were off and running in April about 2005. And we've had just a tremendous run over the years. And over those years, we've had the pleasure of giving coffee to newcomers and giving them a chance to kind of have a place to congregate and get to know us and that sort of thing. But we've also been able to fund many projects, including air conditioning. We've replaced several kitchen appliances and that sort of thing to get our kitchen up to code. There have been some roof repairs over the years that we've taken care of. And our current project is probably a long-term one, and that's to replace all the floor coverings. So we need a lot more coffee. So come let us pour you a great cup of coffee. Wayne, besides being one of the original baristas and one of my cohorts in crime over many years of different sorts of things, Wayne was also our supply manager. So if we were low on anything, we gave Wayne a call and he would run out and grab it. And invariably, we always had everything we needed. And he's done that. He did that for a good 14 years. And so it's only fitting that we name this cart for our good friend Wayne. And we have that up there. Okay, so please come join us whenever you can for a cup of coffee and to say thank you for Wayne. One last thing, we're in need of some new baristas. So if you ever wanted to learn how to do a good latte or a good barista drink, we would be happy to train you, especially if you were one of the 9 o'clockers. John Sander has been doing the 9 o'clock since day one. And originally we were called the Barista Boys. Until Wayne's daughters put up a fuss. And we were made to see the error in our thinking. And so over the years, as you can see, we've had a great mixed group, and we have a lot of fun, by the way. So again, if you're looking forward to some sort of service project within our church, please come talk to me, and I'd be happy to arrange some training for you. Thank you very much.
Morning. Again. How about them dads? So happy Father's Day to all the awesome dads out there. I also want to acknowledge that for some of us, this is a tough day. It can be confusing, conflicting for fathers and their children. But for us to have forgiveness and compassion for our fathers and for others who may be struggling, that may be the greatest gift of all. So I'm going to split up today's meditation into a couple different parts that I thought were helpful in terms of my own understanding of what meditation is. And I want to invite everyone to do a little bit of breath work before we do a reading together. So the simplest way I can kind of think of doing this right now is, number one, find a good place of comfort in your seat. If you need to make adjustments, that's okay. Maybe your hands are in your lap or at your side. Work out the kinks in your neck if you have any. And we're going to do what some call circular breathing. And to make that simple, it's basically just breathing in through your nose, holding it for just a couple seconds, and then exhaling slowly through your mouth. You can purse your lips. We're going to do about 3 of those together, nice and slowly, in through the nose. Hold it for a couple seconds, and slowly out through the lips. You can also use this not only in meditation, but in states of stress. If you're experiencing crisis, you're not sure how you're feeling, 3 breaths is all it seems to take to get in this space that we're in right now. So you can continue focusing on your breath, or you can breathe normally, whatever feels comfortable. I'm just going to read a short passage out of this book called The Healing Path of Prayer. So we began our first exercise. We took 3 deep breaths in. And as we do, we release ourselves from the thoughts and concerns of our days. As we breathe normally, spend a few minutes just following your own breath as a way of grounding yourself, observing where your breath flows into and out of your body, and any feelings or sensations associated with it. When you have settled in, begin to envision or sense a glowing light surrounding your heart. See that light as the very presence of God, the very energy of God that emanates from the love and mercy of God. Love and mercy is the very personality of God that makes God all-powerful. Envision and sense that merciful and loving light now moving through every part of your body. Your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your torso, your legs, your feet, your eyes, your ears, your throat, the crown of your head, until your whole body is engulfed in light. As your body is being flooded with light, you are being engulfed by the energy that is the mercy and love of God. Imagine a powerful ray of light moving from the center of your body to the top of your head and out of your body. If you are doing this exercise in a group, imagine that your ray meets all the other lights in the room until they converge into one ocean of light. You are now swimming in the very presence of God, whose spirit is everywhere, whose energy is everywhere. Now allow the Spirit of God to call to mind someone in need of this ray of energy that you have released through prayer. Usually, and some may call this Holy Spirit, will simply impress a name or face upon your mind or thought. Just allow that light to leave the room instantly and surround and fill the person of whom you are thinking. We do this in silence because numerous names or faces may come to us. In the next few moments, allow this spirit, the breath of life, or prana, if you prefer that term, to move and encase these others. As you are projecting or allowing this light to move from you, see what it is also doing to you. Feel the energy that is coming to us. As we give, we also receive. So whether we are working or engaged in recreation, socializing, doing housework by ourselves, we can stop for a moment and allow the Spirit to fill us with this light. We then allow that Spirit to bring to mind those that we can pray for. We pray for them simply by relaxing and allowing the Spirit to release itself in an instant. For there are no boundaries or time or space in the world of the spiritual. In that instant, surround that person with love, peace, and the presence of God, which is light. We do this simply because we desire the other person's wholeness and health. Then the Spirit will draw that time to a close. Maybe a few other times throughout the day, the Spirit or the voice, what we might call a hunch or idea, may come to us. At that moment, we stop and allow ourselves to be who we truly are, which is light. We allow that light, the presence of God, to move in and out of us. And as it energizes and heals others, it returns back to us. Take a moment of silence. And when we are ready, take 3 more breaths, slow and methodical, in through our nose. Hold it for a couple seconds. Slowly out through the purse of our lips. ready, we can begin to open our eyes.
Wow. Feeling grounded now. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Need that. Well, good morning, everyone. And happy Father's Day. And I want to wish my dad, Ralph, who may or may not be watching, happy Father's Day, and my stepdad, Laverne, who may or may not be watching, and all the dads in the room, whether you're a dad of a human or an animal, or whether you have a father in spirit, happy Father's Day. It's a beautiful day. As many of you know, Dr. Gary and Dr. Jane are at a ministers' conference at Unity Village, and they asked me to give the message today, which is a great honor. And they're probably watching right now. So let's just say hello. Hello. But because this is my first time speaking in this capacity, I'm a little bit nervous, just a little bit. So I appreciate having such a supportive audience. So thank you all for being here. It's really an honor to be here, and I hope that I can bring something to you today. That is my goal. Oh, thank you. Let's see if this works. Okay. Off and running. Here we go. So in 2002, I had my first spiritual breakdown in a bathroom in Brazil. Okay? How's that for a starter? I was 27 at the time, and I was living in Brazil teaching English, and I had to go home because my visa had expired. I was technically in the country illegally. And so I wanted to stay in Brazil, but at the same time, I actually really didn't. I didn't want to leave, but I also didn't want to go. And so I felt lost. And I was confused. I was unsure of who I was, what I was, why I was, all the questions. And so one night, my roommate, she was out of town, and I was packing my suitcases real glumly, realizing that I had to leave. And I was in the bathroom, I don't know, and all of a sudden I had this thought. And I was just thinking, what is the point? What's the point of life? What am I doing with my life? Why do I exist? Is it just so I can, go around and go, I don't know, teach English in Brazil or do whatever? I didn't get it. And so what happened was I just fell apart right there on the bathroom floor. And so at that moment, I started praying. And honestly, it was more than praying. It was actually begging God. It was praying. Let's call it that. It was praying God for help. And so I just remember just being, just overcome with emotion and just saying, help me God, help me God, help me God. Just, fist to the heavens, what have you. It was very dramatic. And so, and up until that point in my life, prayer wasn't really something I'd done. And frankly, it was something I had resisted doing. It felt a little bit desperate to me. I kind of thought it was a weakness, honestly. I thought it was kind of for wimpy people who, couldn't take life by the horns and do things their own way, which is what I kind of, thought I had done up until that point. And looking back, I can see those thoughts and feelings came from my own religious upbringing and the beliefs that I was taught and that I knew. And as many of you know from my transformational story, and for those of you who don't, I was raised in a pretty strict religious cult. And what I was taught about God and the Bible and life in general, it really didn't resonate with me, but it was what I knew. And so when I was old enough to do so, I kind of just threw it all out. I compartmentalized my religious upbringing, put it in a nice little box, and then just shipped it out. Didn't need it anymore. And that included prayer. Prayer to me was part of that little box. And so I just let it all go, and just charted my own course, is what I thought. Until my bathroom breakdown. And at that moment, prayer seemed like the only thing I could do. That was the only thing I could do, was just beg, pray to God for help. I felt desperate, lost, and broken. So I left the bathroom floor that day, it was funny because I felt like, okay, got that out of my system, done. 30, 45 minutes of just pure drama. Okay, got it out of my system, it felt good, I'm good now. So I was thinking, what's next? Okay, I'm gonna go back to packing my bags and going back home. So I went back to the States, and I ended up moving back in with my mom, who lived in Post Falls. And it was funny, it was the first time in my life that I felt depressed. Of course, I'd had moments of sadness in my life, but this felt really heavy. It felt like something that was not gonna go away. And so, at that time, I was 27, I felt like I was kind of starting over. I didn't have a job, or a career, or a 401k, or a house, or a husband, or kids, or anything that the society around me expected or inquired about. They asked those types of questions, and I didn't have an answer. And so I felt a little bit like a failure. And up until that point, I'd had an amazing travel-filled life, tons of adventure, did everything that I thought I wanted to do, but it just didn't seem like enough. It was not enough. And so one day, I'm back at home, and I went to visit my mom at the Coeur d'Alene Library where she worked, and I was in one of the stacks, and I was kind of embarrassed, and my mom came to see me, and I was just bawling my eyes out, per usual. I was just crying a lot. And so she suggested we go have lunch and talk. And so while I was waiting for her, I saw a book on display at the library, and I picked it up, and I looked at the cover, and it somewhat repulsed. I put it back, and I'll tell you what the book title was in a minute. So I put it back. I was like, no, that's not for me. But my mom saw what I did, and so she came over to me and she said, "Oh, Amber, why don't you check that book out?" And I was like, "Why? Have you read it?" Really sassy, because I was feeling down and I was just taking it out on anybody. "Why, Mom? Have you read it?" And she said, "No, but we're in a library. You can check it out, take it home." And probably what she was thinking is, besides, you don't really have a job and you're just moping around, so why not read? Honestly, I think that's what she was thinking. I was resistant, but my mom was adamant, and so I checked out the freaking book. And I took it home, and I started reading it, and I knew from the very first page of that book that my Brazil breakdown prayer had been answered. The book was titled Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. Many of you are familiar with that book, and for those of you who aren't, it's a book about the author's kind of anger toward life and kind of frustration with all the things that he was going through and the highs and lows and what was the point. And it was everything that I was thinking and feeling at that moment. And so what he did was he started writing a letter to God because he was mad and he wanted, just to get it out. But what was surprising is that he got answers to his questions. And they were really funny and poignant and sassy and sarcastic, all the things that we are, right? And so when I was reading those answers, I felt like these are the answers I've been looking for my whole life. This is what I believe. This is what I want to believe. And so honestly, that book was my first kind of introduction, my first preview into the God that I had always wanted to believe was true in my heart, but that I was never told existed. I honestly felt when I was reading the pages that God was talking directly to me, and that it was put squarely into my hands thanks to my Brazil breakdown, because I was ready for it. I was ready for it. So I read the entire book in one day and just, cried the whole time. And, that book led to other books, to other books, to other books. But everything shifted for me in that moment, after that first page. I immediately felt permission to see and experience life differently. Like everything that had ever happened to me had real purpose and meaning. Thanks to that book, I no longer felt lost. And maybe I wasn't completely found, but I had a glimmer of hope. My soul had a clear direction, and my mission, which I chose to accept, was to follow it, knowing there was purpose. One of the most profound parts of the conversation revolved around the lies that we believe about God. And then this truth bomb, which was an exchange between Walsh, the author, and God about the truth of God and where it comes from. And so, I have it up on the screen, but Neil Donald Walsh says, "But my truth about God comes from you, God." And God is like, "Well, who said so?" And I can just imagine the voice, like, "Oh, really? Who said so?" Walsh, "Others. What others? Leaders, ministers, rabbis, priests, books, the Bible, for heaven's sake. Those are not authoritative sources." What? Oh my gosh, this was shocking to me. Walsh, "They aren't? No. Then what is?" That is the question. And God says, "Listen to your feelings. Listen to your highest thoughts. Listen to your experience. Whenever any one of these differ from what you've been told by your teachers or read in your books, forget the words. Words are the least reliable purveyor of truth." Boom. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And so my talk this morning is titled, "Your Soul's Mission If You Choose to Accept It." And I want to include the following caveat, which is, and if you don't accept it, well, it's happening anyway, so you better hang on tight. And I love this picture because here's my analogy when I was looking at this. The guy that's like this, that's your soul. The parachute is kind of like God. And then you're kind of strapped on, your tandem with your soul, just hanging on, allowing yourself to be guided, to be, taken safely to earth, ideally. So I like the idea of having a soul mission, and it feels very true to me. So let's see, where am I? Okay, in her wonderful message last week, Dr. Jane asked us to investigate what it is that breaks our heart. What is it that creates a stirring in our soul that causes us to want to take authentic, heart-centered action? And when I asked myself this question, several things popped up. But what really came through for me was, issues of social injustice, inequality, and prejudice against groups that are considered others. When I hear about or witness discrimination or unfair treatment of anyone, especially those in marginalized groups, I feel a lot of pain in my soul. And I feel impassioned, like I'm on fire and I want to do something. But then I thought about it even more and went a little bit deeper. And I realized that based on my own painful life experiences, the thing that really breaks my heart the most is the faulty belief systems that lie, figuratively and literally, behind so much of the injustice and the inequality and the prejudice and the pain and the suffering that we humans experience and inflict upon one another. Specifically, the lies that we believe about God and in turn ourselves. And so it is my soul's mission to counteract these lies whenever I can. And it's hard because they're so ingrained in me and in many of us. And so when we're faced with them or we acknowledge them, my goal is really to uncover them so that I can learn the truth, which is part of my soul's mission. Now, I feel like there are a lot of lies out there about God that many of us have internalized, so I just want to talk about the top 3 big ones that I personally believed and that kind of affected me the most. And also, of course, I want to cover the awesome power of these lies in finding the capital T truth about God, spirit, the universe. There are many names for God, but what these beautiful truths can reveal about our own lives and our own mission, our own soul's mission. What are these top 3 lies, you wonder? I bet you're curious. They are, in no particular order. God's a dude. Come on. No offense, dudes. God doesn't like mistakes. Mistakes are sin. God is out there, separate from me. That one's the biggest, the big one. Okay, so let's go to lie number 1, or the first one I've got. God's a dude. Okay, so growing up, I thought God was like this big, booming guy up in the clouds who was kind of looking down on all of us little ants, and kind of happy when we were doing things that we were supposed to, and kind of annoyed and disturbed when we were doing things we weren't supposed to. And I do remember vividly looking up, sometimes as a kid, looking up in the clouds and thinking, oh, maybe I'll catch a glimpse of God today. Ooh, let's see. And I'd look, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh God, no, don't, look down. Because I was afraid I'd make eye contact, and then he'd know that I was in big trouble. Catch-22, I was kind of like, ooh. But looking back now, I can see how this belief manifested. My developing mind thought our church's ministers were what God looked like, and acted like, and sounded like. And they were all older white males with families, who seemed to have it all figured out. They had what it took for God's love, and they did what they needed to do to secure their place in heaven and in the kingdom. They were also experts on the Bible, and which I was not. I actually didn't really like the Bible. It didn't resonate with me. It didn't feel approachable. But I was like, okay, they're doing what they need to do, and they're telling me what I need to do. And so when I heard the sermons, I remember a lot of him and he, a lot. And I just thought, okay. And I almost never heard a she or a her. And if you did, it was like somebody was pregnant, given birth to God, or somebody was a prostitute, it didn't resonate with me. And so I just figured, it was kind of matter of fact. Someone like me, a girl, wasn't really part of the Bible or godly things. That wasn't for me. That was literally my thought process. That's not for me. I wasn't mad about it. I just thought, oh, okay, I don't belong there. And also these men of God weren't particularly warm to me or my single mother or my unruly little brother. I believed we were not worthy of their time and attention, and so therefore it kind of just, made sense that we weren't really worthy of God's time or attention. And so, and of course, no one told me I was unworthy. Of course not. Nobody said that. Actually, what they said was the opposite. But these were just things I intuited and absorbed based on the belief system I was surrounded by. And while I never, ever, it's funny because I think about it, and I liked who I was. I thought I was pretty funny, and, I was pretty outgoing and chipper. And I liked who I was when I was with my friends or with my family or, with other people. But when I went to church, I was kind of like, ooh, I kind of feel like a loser here. This doesn't resonate with me. And so while I never wished that I was someone else so that I could be loved by God, I did wish for a God that was more like me. That was my wish. And I want to say that thanks to this lie, which I needed for my own growth and relearning, the absolute unchanging truth that I've come to understand through this life journey, through Unity, through my classes, my ministerial classes, is that God is love. And it sounds so simple. It's kind of, okay, what does that mean? But it's really powerful when I sink my heart into it. The energy of love encompasses all that is considered masculine, all that is considered feminine, and beyond, because we are much more than gendered beings, so much more. And this loving universal energy encompasses every single one of us. Okay, so lie number 2. God doesn't like mistakes. Mistakes are sin. Again, in the belief system I grew up in, we focused a lot on doing. What you did was important. And very little focus on being, how you were being in the world. That didn't really matter. And so we got most of our information about what to do from our ministers and the leader of the religion, And I mean, if we had a list of all the things we couldn't do, it would be a book, a very thick book. It'd be like the Bible of things you can't do, basically. And so it was kind of hard to keep track of. There were so many things that I didn't, I just kind of thought, well, I'm going to probably screw up anyway, so might as well just try, right? It was things like don't wear makeup, don't eat certain foods, don't watch TV on Saturday, don't kill people. That one was easy. That one I got. Yeah, that was good. Don't participate in school holidays, don't date outside the church, don't watch movies like E.T. or Splash. So that one got me. I was like, okay, somebody show me in the Bible where God's telling me I can't watch E.T. because if it's an alien, or Splash because it's a mermaid. And I of course challenged these things because as a kid you want to watch E.T. Luckily my mom was very cool and was like, oh, Amber, you can watch E.T. No, that's silly. But of course, these rules were someone else's interpretation of what was in the Bible, and we just had to go along with it. My best friend Shannon and I would push some of these boundaries and rules because we were such rebels. And, we would sneak TV on Friday nights or, eat some ham or something that we weren't supposed to do. And I remember one time we went trick-or-treating, and in our church, we didn't believe in Halloween, but she and I were so motivated. We just saw people doing it. We thought, oh, that's so cool. We want to do this. And we were also, we wanted some candy. And so we, dressed up and went trick-or-treating. And mind you, we were 16. I was 16 and she was 19 at the time. So we were like those older kids that come to the door that people are kind of annoyed by, but we didn't really care. But guess what happened? I was dressed like a hippie, I was wearing Birkenstocks, and I jumped over a pile of rocks, and I landed wrong and ended up fracturing my ankle. Ooh, I know, I was like, we thought for sure God was punishing us for that mistake. For doing something we weren't supposed to do. But it was totally worth it, we were fine. And, in all seriousness, the lie that God doesn't like mistakes or that God punishes sin is really, truly a dangerous one. Especially when it comes to an internalized belief that says, I'm wrong or I'm a mistake, simply by being who I am. This lie can detour us from living our soul's mission. It's the one that can prevent us from living an authentic, purpose-driven life. It's the one that can cause shame, self-hatred, and self-harm. It's also the one that perpetuates judgment and hate against other groups for what is deemed sinful in the eyes of God. It's Pride Month, as many of you know, and there's nothing that fires me up more than the faulty belief system that many churches teach, including the one I grew up in, about LGBTQ plus people. It's frankly church-sanctioned discrimination that has had horrific consequences on millions of people and families worldwide. And of course, these are good people who want to do the right thing, but are constrained by a faulty and false belief system. At Unity, we teach that we are spirit beings having a human experience. And so our very existence, our very being in the world, however that looks or feels, is on purpose and is part of our soul's mission here. And who we have come here to be is never a mistake or a sin. There's just no such thing. So what about the perceived choices or decisions we make that seem to derail our life in one way or another? Or the mistakes that feel really bad? Or the ones that created unintended consequences for ourselves and others? What about those? Well, according to Unity Teachings, and I just took a class on this, and I really loved what I learned here, the truth is you cannot make a wrong choice or a bad decision. Isn't that cool? I'll tell you why. Eric Butterworth, in his book titled The Flow of Life, states, the only predestiny in life is the ultimate unfoldment of the divine creature you are. You're all divine creatures, everybody. There is a creative intention working in you. It is a force that transcends mistakes and wrong choices and makes all things work for good. In other words, mistakes are part of your soul's mission, and you are expanding your consciousness in ways it could not have been expanded had you not made the mistake. So you just have to make the mistake. Please, make the mistake. It's all part of your divine mission. Isn't that good news? Yes. Thank you. I felt that too. Butterworth goes on to explain the following. Yes. So a wrong choice is a right choice at that particular time. Know this, you are free from the fear of bad decisions. You can stand still and believe that there is no decision to be made, only a direction to discover. Right? Thank you, Katie. So the next time you make a mistake, you can just say, oh, it's a new direction to discover. That's what I'm going to do. And the more we listen to that inner voice, that inner spirit, that higher self feeling, the clearer our direction gets. So this leads to the third and biggest lie, in my opinion, which is God is out there, separate from me. Like many of us, I grew up believing God was an external force that existed, out there, and that I alone could not know what God needed or expected of me. I had to trust others, those who really knew God, and had the inside information to tell me what to do and how to be. But this version of God left me feeling judged, powerless, and alone. And so I did what many of us do. I edged God out, which is what Wayne Dyer calls the ego, edging God out. Isn't that good? Edging God out. If what I was taught about this great creator was true, I remember feeling like I had no use for it. I don't like being judged. Nobody does. But that's what I was feeling. And so I flowed along with my life, putting that box away, trusting that I could do it all on my own and that everything was going to work out. That is until my Brazil bathroom breakdown. Let's call it that. My desperate plea that day was for meaning. I wanted to know that there was something greater, something divine working within me, not outside of me. I wanted this monumental lie to be exposed and to reveal the absolute truth of myself and every being on the planet, that the Spirit of God existed inside all of us. And that is exactly what happened. Father Richard Rohr, do any of you know Father Richard Rohr? Yeah, if you don't, I just was introduced to his work recently. He's a Franciscan priest, Bible scholar, and Christian mystic, and I'm currently reading his latest book titled The Universal Christ. There's a quote in this book, I'm not kidding you, it blew my mind. It brought me to tears and essentially deconstructs every single lie ever told about God in 6 words. And it also confirms every single truth. Rohr writes, God loves things by becoming them. I want you to let that sink in for a minute, because it's for me, it's got this kind of gravitational pull that I can't release myself from. God loves things by becoming them. It means, because the Spirit of God exists inside every living being, we are never alone. We are not alone in our joy or our pain, in our greatest love or our deepest fear. We're not alone lounging by the pool in Brazil or bawling on the bathroom floor. We're not alone the moment we take our first breath or our last. It also means that what we love becomes God. Our family members, our friends, our animals, our pets, our plants, trees, a sunset, whatever it is that you love, God is in that. Whatever we're loving, God is inhabiting. And so your soul's mission, if you choose to accept it, but remember, you have no choice. You really don't. Is to uncover the lies that you have believed to be true about God and yourself, so that you can allow the ultimate unfoldment of the divine creature you are to come forth and bless this world in the way that only you can. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, for we know that there is only one presence, one power, and one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey of transformation, you are surely welcome here. We would especially like to welcome anyone who is here for the first time. If this is your first time with us and you feel comfortable raising your hand, our ushers have a gift packet for you. You also get a free latte.
Hands up.
Okay, on the outside of the packet, there's a form you can fill out to be added to our mailing list for our weekly e-news update and our quarterly newsletter. If you are interested, please fill it in and either drop it in the love offering bag or at the welcome center. Also, after the service, take your packet to the barista stand and get your free beverage. You can also take it to the bookstore and get a CD of today's Sunday talk. If you have any questions or you would like a name tag, please visit our information desk and speak to one of our welcome team members. We are glad you're here. We would also like to welcome our online viewers. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now is the time to welcome and greet each other with a handshake, a hug, a namaste, whatever works for you. We begin with our welcome song.
All right, we'd love to have you stand if you can. We're going to sing the Gathering In song.
Gathering In song. We are gathering in song, welcoming the fullness, opening the doors of spirit high. We are walking into Christ, starting out together, turning to the miracles inside. We are gathering in song, welcoming the fullness, opening the doors of spirit high. We are walking into light, starting out together, turning to the miracles inside.
He's back. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Sledge. I have the privilege of being the treasurer on your board of trustees. And this is a time in our service where we acknowledge and welcome your contributions, financial contributions to this wonderful place we call Unity Spiritual Center. Not a bad debut there, miss. So as you can see, this is an opportunity, this is a place where opportunity for people to experience God and transformation, as we've just heard. So again, besides being a place of transformation, this is actually a physical place. So we do need financial contributions to keep the lights on, to keep the air conditioning going, and all of those sort of mundane things that really are necessary. So again, this is a time in the summer where sometimes we don't tend to come to church. So if you are not in the habit of doing a automatic giving, please consider that. And otherwise, just make sure you get that contribution in, because we do need it and we do appreciate it. So let's take that gratitude for our being able to be together and to enjoy the spiritual family that we are. Let's take that into our prosperity blessing. Together, I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share, and so it is.
So it is. So happy Father's Day to the fathers out there, and grandfathers too. Tony said, "Hey, it's Father's Day. What do you want to do? You know, what do you want to sing?" And she said, "It's your day. You get to do what you want." So I said, "Cool. All right, this is my choice." So a gal who was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a black nun who traveled around in the 50s and 60s and sang these gospel blues songs. Her name is literally Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And if you've never heard her, never seen any of that crossover blues and rock and roll that she played, she had big old fat body white electric guitar. And this gal, she played all over that thing well and imitated a little here on the acoustic guitar. And this is one of the songs she sang. And I really like the words for today. It goes right with what you were saying here this morning. It is, it's just about love and understanding. That's all this is, right? Well, I'm gonna tell you some natural facts. Don't understand the good, but right in the way we sometimes act. Well, that's all. Well, hell, that's all. Well, gotta have a little bit of love and understanding every day of our life, and that's all. When you see folks jumping from this or that, they don't know where the good life is at, 'cause that's all. Yeah, that's all. Well, every day of our lives, I tell you, it's love and understanding, that's all. But it's money's been taken away from us. People fight one another, they think they're doing swell. All they want is your money, it goes draining down the well. Well, that's all. Yeah, that's all. We need a bit of love and understanding every day of our life, and that's all.
and for those who have so generously given, not only financially, but of their tithes, talents, and treasures. You are a blessing to this world as you bring our mission statement to life, transforming lives and inspiring people to make a difference in the world. Thank you.
Remember that, Amber? We were talking, never play that rock and roll. No.
It's a sin. So, as we're saying today we are saying a special thank you to the barista team. Jim already pretty much took care of this. I was going to also put in a plug that we do need more baristas. So anyway, thank you for your service. We're very grateful. Our chaplains today are Julian and Tim. I believe Julian's been holding the service in prayer throughout. Always. So if you have anything that is heavy on your heart or that you would like to celebrate, you can pray with one of our chaplains and they will hold it in prayer with you. They'll be at the front of the sanctuary right after the service. And thank you for your service today. You can also fill in a prayer request form found in the seat pocket in the front of you and put it in one of the prayer boxes. There's one back here on the podium and there's one out in the atrium. The prayer team will pray with you for 7 days and then the prayers will be sent to Silent Unity for 30 days of prayer. If you know of someone who is in the hospital and has requested a visit from one of our chaplains, please fill in the visitation request form in the seat back pocket and place it in the prayer box. I believe we have some children outside that are just dying to get in here. We are very grateful for all our young people here at Unity Spiritual Center. Let's take a moment to bless our children and the youth and those who are in service to our youth ministry. We're very grateful for all you do. So we'll do the children's blessing now. Be the love you are, sing the song you hear, share your joy of life with people far and near. And for ourselves, be the love we are, sing the song we hear, share our joy of life with people far and near. I don't even need to invite them to go. Okay, it looks like all our children have found a parental unit. So please join us for our closing prayers. Please stand as you are able, and we'll begin with the closing prayer. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is.
And always will. And that's the truth.